All right, today's topic. There's a video that I feel like everybody really needs to see. And so we're going to pop it in. You guys are going to listen.
Okay, I want to cut right to it, Anthony, because
Please
you have
do.
one of the most cutting lines in this whole film, and I wrote it down so I can get it word for word. You're a goddamn cliche. You validate everything the white community thinks.
Right. And that line is the reason I did the movie.
Seriously.
100%.
Please expand. Tell
You
me
have
about
two
this.
lines in this movie that are extremely important. You're a goddamn cliche, you validate what white people thinks, and it's not your first thought that makes you a racist. It's your second, your third, and your fourth. Those two lines, I feel, are the lines that everyone is stepping around and no one wants to talk about.
I want to talk about it.
And
Let's talk about
that's
it.
what frustrates me. We're in a position now in society, in this country, where no one wants to listen.
Yes, nobody wants to listen. Everybody wants to just talk. When you talk to someone and you have a conversation with someone, first and foremost, you have to understand that you might be wrong. It's a possibility. And listen to motherfuckers. Man, people don't listen. Yeah, they don't listen. I agree. Ooh, yo, bruv, that hit my soul. Woo! That hit my soul. That went right in there. I was like, oh, yes. It was at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Step one to any good conversation is listening. And that doesn't just mean not speaking when the other person's talking, but that means actively digesting what the other person's saying in relation to the context of the conversation. All right. That's why we say there's a difference between hearing and listening. All right. So peep that.
The smartest person in a conversation is the person who listens. So when you talk about black or white, when you talk about race, when you talk about sexism, when you talk about homophobia, I think the most interesting perspective is to sit back and just let that person talk. You know, it's frustrating to me that people take race and they make it personal. You know what I mean? Like we're at a loss in this generation. If you look at it in the 80s, Archie Bunker was a stark racist. Stark. If you don't know who Archie Bunker is, look him up. All in the Family, great show.
You heard him.
The Jeffersons, stark racist. Fred Sanford, stark racist. But you know what black people and white people did? They laughed. You watch 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Both of them hated each other because he was black and because he was white. You know what they did? They laughed. And right now, we are in a society where we can't have a conversation because no one's willing to listen.
People are just shouting.
People are just
Whatever they
shouting.
think.
People are walking down the street, hashtagging everything, but no one's listening. No one,
Interesting.
white people, I truly believe white people don't have an outlet to express or question their views on race.
White people have had a chance to express themselves for the last 400 years. No, it's time for them to take a seat. No, several seats and listen, my niggas.
It is not for me to have to explain to a white person why I'm offended. I don't have to explain to you what you're doing wrong. I shouldn't have to educate you. What? Man, that don't work like that. How effective is that?
You got Google, right? You believe in Google, right? Then Google that shit. My only thing is this. If you're going to condemn someone as a racist, you should tell them why. That's it. If you don't want to have that conversation, that's fine. You don't have to.
Shut the fuck up about it then.
But don't say you're a racist and then they said why,
And you're
you
like,
just-
whoa, cuz. Oh, you don't know? You should know. No, you already.
This is what I know. I'm a certified scuba diver. My first day of class, they told me this. When you're in shark-infested waters, everything in that water is considered a threat until proven otherwise. If it's a guppy, it could be a shark until you know it's a guppy. And I think as black men, we need to realize we're in shark-infested waters. And if we don't sit our young men down and we don't talk to them about perception, and we don't talk to them about stereotypes, we're doing them a huge disservice. Because if the police pull me over, prime example, I got pulled over by the police, come over to my window, flash his light in my face, hand on my pistol. I can handle that two ways. I can start yelling and screaming and tell him he a racist and he don't know me. You're doing this wrong.
Yeah, there's a difference between what's right and what gets you by. Sometimes you just have to admit that you're trying to live and you try to survive. It doesn't mean it's the right thing in terms of what's just.
It's not fair. Do you want to live?
I understand. Getting pulled over 12 times a year can get frustrating and you can lose your temper.
Oh, yeah. I get
it. But I always tell people you got to move smart.
They're the one that have the power, and that's the messed up thing. You have an officer that comes here. I stay the most calm and I film. And whenever I have an encounter with them, I film and I stay calm. Now, I used to be that dude where I was like super volatile. And every time it got me in more shit than anything, even when I was right.
Yeah.
But when I film and have the proof, that's a different thing, you know. When they don't have anything to, you know, to show for, it's a different thing. At the end of the day, you trying to live. They should not be like that. Okay, no, they shouldn't. But they're like that. Women should be able to walk naked in a alley and be fine. Yes, I agree. But that's not the reality. So I'm going to make sure my daughter makes it.
But then what happens when we have these incidents that happen, you know, maybe we've got differing evidence. We don't know how it escalated to what happens.
Right.
And then we don't ever get to the court of law.
And that's the problem.
How does that
That's
work?
the problem. Because now we're in a position where you can't fight your battle because we are relying on evidence. We can't get your truth. As a black man, your job is to make sure your truth is heard. That's it. So if the police want to wild out, I promise you, if you sit back, yes, officer, no, officer, if I'm wrong, arrest me, officer. Are you talking back? No, sir, officer. Why are you being aggressive? This is not aggression, officer. If it escalates past that, there's nothing you could have done anyway. All cops aren't bad cops. 99% of cops are really good dudes.
40.
We don't know the statistics, so nobody can really say. What I do know is that good cops don't report bad cops enough. So for me, they got systemic problems at their base.
Exactly. That's why I wouldn't say that 99%.
If your job is to protect the citizens and your buddy is killing citizens or planting,
you don't report
then
them,
you're not protecting citizens.
You're as bad as the person that does the deed.
Sometimes silence is guilt.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts?
About the conversation thing, I feel the exact same way it is. Like, the conversation is going to be able to better things, even if you're right. If you scream at someone, you're wrong, nothing has been solved like that. Nothing, ever. It's just aggressive. It's just in your face. It's just the person is not going to be open and inclined to be like, okay, yeah, I fucked up. Never, ever. It's a conversation that's going to be able to help that. But for that, we have to be able to have a conversation. And people have to be able to ask questions. That's the thing. If they really want to understand. If not, we're just going to run in circle.
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much my thoughts on this video. But we want to hear your thoughts on this topic. So please leave your comments below. Where do you agree or disagree with us? And what did you think about what Anthony Mackie said? So leave your comments below. That's it.
Alex Hudgens, Black Tree TV.
What? Yo, Tree be black. What's up? There we go. Wow, what you doing? Them ghetto Pilates? Dang, you in it, huh?
Wait, ghetto Pilates? Ghetto
That's a Jaheim,
Pilates?
you know. Tighten up my body, working on my ghetto Pilates. You don't
This is
listen
where
to
this interview
Jaheim?
is going
Oh,
right
come
now.
on, Jaheim. That's the hood Al Green. I love Jaheim.
I don't even want to talk about the film now. I just want to let this go on forever.
Yeah, she didn't know.
He's got good taste in music. I was kind of surprised by that one. Talking about my ghetto Pilates.
Yeah, that's funny as hell.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Speaking of hood,
Speaking of a hood,
girl.
I don't know what it is about mixed girls and white girls. Whenever they're trying to imitate that black essence, they always do like some extra. Black girls don't talk like that.
No.
because black people get too defensive about it, or because
one,
because it is personal to some people.
No,
I mean it's a real thing.
It's very
Yeah.
personal. But the reality is this: if you're ignorant about something and you can't ask me a question, so you're not ignorant, how do you get better?
Fair.
So if you come to me and you're yelling, "Oh, I hate black people because of A, B, C, and D," then you're ignorant. You're a fool. I can't talk to you. But if you come to me and say, "Look, like my friends do, look, you're a black dude. I feel like I can talk to you. So I don't understand A, B, C, and D."
Right.
And we have those conversations. We
Real
have
talk.
a glass of whiskey, and we have because I do the same thing about white people, Asian people, and Latino people. Look, I really don't understand
Right.
why.
I want to highlight a difference. See what his friend did. His friend said, "I don't understand something. Let's talk." And there's a back and forth. There's a dialogue. I had a conversation that was super interesting. I went to a church with this white girl, and I remember there was a picture of like a native person in the church on the vitrine. You know the one I'm talking about, like the universe. This native person on their knees kind of looking up, and then there was like obviously the colonizer being like giving the person bread. I looked at that picture and I'm like, this is hyper inappropriate considering our history. And she's like, why? It's beautiful art. And this person's not from here.
No, she's not from here. She doesn't understand. So
later on that day, and I was just like, we don't have to talk about this. So later on that day, she's like, well, you want to talk about what we saw earlier? And I was like, okay, we can try. And then she started to like tell me like what native suffering is like here in Canada and what happened to them. And I was trying to explain to her that it's not the same as what has happened in your country and other countries. It is a fairly unique situation based off her own history. And she kept like trying to impose on me the reality of the situation. And it made me realize this person's just ignorant on the situation. So I told her, I just don't want to have this conversation because you're not aware of our history. So it makes no sense for me to debate with you when you don't know the parameters of this thing.
Because when you don't know that you don't know, you don't know that you don't know.
Exactly. So I didn't want to seem dismissive, but I had to dismiss the conversation because for me, it was going nowhere. If you don't know what it is that you're talking about, you probably shouldn't be talking about it. You know what I'm saying?
But sometimes people don't know that they don't know. That they don't know that they don't know what they're talking about.
It's fine to not know. It's the problem is when you're ignorant and you pretend that you do know, then I don't want to talk to you. Because there's nothing for me to feed you information with. If you've already filled that memory slot, I can't fill it for you with information. So we're wasting our time.
And that's the problem.
To give you an equivalent, I guess, it would be like a physicist having to speak to someone who works in coal mining about how the law of inertia works. If the people don't have a common understanding of physics,
of basic physics,
there's not much of a conversation that's going to happen. Especially if the coal miner is like, I know how physics works, and he's never studied it. Then it's a waste of time. So at that point, then a conversation is a misnomer. Doesn't mean that you can't explain something complex to someone who has no understanding of it. It means just they have to come ready to listen and then have a conversation back and forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, why don't we demonstrate the difference between listening? So why don't you I will listen to what you're saying.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that, like, you see, if you look at the camera, the screen is crooked. It's clearly crooked. It's not leveled. So we'd have to fix that because we're not seeing ourselves leveled. You understand what I'm saying? Then that could actually better the whole thing because it would give us a better view of what we're actually viewing.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think I have to probably actually fix one of the legs. The reason why it's crooked is because the floor is slightly crooked. But you're not wrong.
You can see it from here that the floor is crooked.
Yeah. And so the difference between hearing now, say something similar.
The light is too bright. Like it's really bright. We're like super pale on this. Like it's burnt and everything and stuff. And so I think we should change that.
Nigga, how come you always come here in bathrobes? Why is it that every time you come here to work, you're always in a bathrobe like this ain't professional semi?
Well, what does a bathrobe have to do with the lights?
No, but serious question. Why are you always here in a bathrobe?
Because I'm comfortable.
Because you know they're going to let you like, oh, this gay nigga here with his bathrobe looking like he's about to like just flash into you. Like, yo, put on some real clothes.
I got real clothes right now.
So that's the difference.
There you go. They don't want to listen. And the worst thing is that when you're actually talking, they're like, yeah, I don't agree with you. And you're going to be like, okay, bring your points. And because you defeat all their points because their points are weak, they're going to be like, see, that's the thing. You have a stance where you think you're always right. No, maybe just your points are garbage, but I'm listening. There's a number of times that you came with some stuff and I was like, nah, man, you run. You dissect that shit. And I was like, okay, come to think of it, I didn't think about it like that. If you bring a valid point, I will be like, okay, yeah. I listen to you saying your point, but you also have to listen to me when I'm saying it.